Morning, this is your math sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is STAAR review for Algebra 1 2023 practice exam. So the graph 3x minus y equals 1 is shown on the grid. And this, by the way, this will be problems 23 through 36. Which problems are in the solution set of 3x minus y is greater than or equal to 1? Shade the three correct circles. First off, we know we're going to have three responses. Okay, so I'm also going to do a little bit of teaching on this one, more than just a problem. If we have a greater than or equal to, or if we have a less than or equal to, or if we have an equal sign, we will have a solid line. So this goes with a solid line. So we know we're going to have a solid line, and we already gave us that. So that didn't give us any new information. Just want to point out that if they'd had a less than or greater than, it would be a dashed line. Okay? All righty. So what I would highly recommend is that you place these in order of y equals mx plus b. So we really want to get this in y equals mx plus b order, which means we need to solve for y. So our equation is 3x minus y equals 1. So I need to move this 3x to the other side. And actually, this was not an equal. This is a, put the correct symbol right there. Greater than or equal to 1. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. This goes away, and now I have negative y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 1, because that's a positive 1, and these two things don't combine. So this is great, but I have a negative here, so that's essentially like having a negative 1, and I need to make it a positive 1, so that means I have to divide everything by negative 1. When you divide or multiply by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So this becomes positive 3x, and this becomes negative 1. Well, now we're in y equals mx plus b format, so where this is mx and this is b. There's my y-intercept at negative 1. Hey, it crosses there. And this is 3 over 1. So up 1, 2, 3, and then over 1. So that looks good. Okay, very first thing, we have a solid line. If we had a dashed line, this point wouldn't count. But because it's a solid line, we know that that point counts because it's on the line. So that's one of our 3 points. So really, we only have to figure out 2 other points, which is the less than or equal to sign. Well, if this were a tree, would it fall down this way or would it fall down this way? I'm going to say it's going to fall down this way. Well, if I have a person here or if I have a person up here, is this tree going to fall on this one up here? And the answer is no, it's going to fall on this one down here because he's below it. Less means you're shading below. So really, I'm shading all this area right here below, including shaded over that poor guy. That means it's these 3 points. So we have this very first point that's on the line, which is at 1, 2, x and y. Our next point is at 1, negative 4, x and y. And our last point is 4, 0, x and y. Now, this is the best way to approach the problem. But if you're not sure what to do, if I notice this is a negative, then I know, because I know that y is negative, the sign flips. If it's positive, it doesn't. If it's negative, it flips. Just by knowing that it was negative, it's like, oh, that means this is going to have to flip, and I have to be shading underneath, and that would have worked as well. But the best way is to actually solve for y the way I did it there. Okay, moving on. Oops, these are out of order. I'm not sure how that happened, but it did. So let me get to number 24. Okay, number 24. Number 24, to be honest, is not that important of a problem. It's one that I'd like you to get right, but if you miss, it's not the worst. So a sequence can be generated by using the equation shown where a to the first equals 5. That means it's going to be my first value, and n is a whole number greater than 1. Well, a to the first, if they're telling me this is my first value, well, which one has it, my first value? Well, B has it as the first value and D has it. So it cannot be A or C because A to the 1 tells me A. Oh, that's my first value. It's 5. All right. Now here I also see I'm subtracting 3. So my first value is 5 and my second value is going to be 5 minus 3, which gives me 2. And then the next value is going to be 2, that same 2 minus 3, which is -1. And then the next one will be -1 minus 3, which is -4. Once again, this is not the most important thing. This is B. Answer choice of 24 is B. One I'd like you to get right, but not the most important. 25. A football player sprinted at a constant rate. Oh, constant rate. That means I have a constant slope. I should have a straight line, and I do. The part of the linear function shows represents the distance the football player sprinted in yards. So this is yards, and as a time in seconds. What is the range? So our keyword here is range. Since they're asking for the range, we know we're asking for the y values. And please remember, this is going to be if it's y, we're going to start at the bottom y, and then we're going to go to the top y. We're going to have a y in between. And because we have solid endpoints, and again, I'm going to take a moment to teach, we'll have solid endpoints, we'd have this. If we had hollow endpoints, it'd be that, or if we had an arrow, whether it's either way, that would also be a hollow, but we don't. We have solid endpoints, so we need this symbol. So we're going to have bottom less than or equal to y, less than or equal to top. The bottom is my lowest value. Well, what is my lowest value? Well, draw a line to the y-axis. Oh, the lowest y is 0, so we have 0 less than or equal to y. Well, unfortunately, that didn't help us out. They all have that. Oh, you know what? I need to talk to you real quickly. This said y is the range, yes? Well, that gets rid of 2 answer choices. That gets rid of the x's because these would have been D for domain. So those would be domain, and we're not interested in the domain. We're interested in the range. The next one, the top, the highest number is 80. So less than or equal to 80 because that's our highest y value. So our answer to 25 is C. Okay, 26. Which expression is a factor of -6x squared minus 19x plus 20? Well, this is one that I could show you how to factor, but really all we need to do is plug this into Desmos. So we're going to plug this into Desmos and find out where it crosses the x-axis. So factors cross the x. And we need to find out where this crosses the parabola and the x. So I'm going to switch over to Desmos, or at least attempt to. Well, hold on just a moment. My Desmos disappeared. Not sure how that happened. No, it didn't. There it is. Sorry, this is taking longer than normal. I'm never very fast at it. So share. And I need to plug in my parabola equation, which in this case is -6x squared minus 19x plus 20. So there's my parabola, and there's where it crosses the x-axis. So I'm going to either need a -40 or a factor at 0.8330. So I'm going to write those down because I either need -40 or I'm going to need one that crosses at 0.83330. One of those. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start inputting those factors. So the very first factor they gave me was 3x minus 5. And that's close, but it's not crossing where it's supposed to. It needs to cross right there, and it doesn't. So the first one's wrong, so we know it's not A. The next one, I go to 6x minus 5. And I see that it crosses exactly at 0.8330. And that is what I need. So B looks like it's my answer choice. Just to continue on, I'm going to do the others. The next one is x minus 5. And it doesn't cross the parabola at the x-axis, so that one's incorrect. So C is gone. And then we go to 2x minus 5. I can just drop a 2 in front of that. And it crosses a parabola, but not over here or over here. So since it doesn't cross where I need it to, it's not correct. Best answer choice for 26 is B. Okay, moving on to 27. Oh, you know what? Let's stay on 26 for just a moment. So in this case, we had a parabola that looks something like this. I needed it to cross at either this point or this point. Turns out it crossed at this point, which is this, and that's correct. It could have crossed here, and that would have also been correct, but it has to cross the x-axis and the parabola at the same point. And the one that did that was right there, 0.8330. So now on to 27. Okay, this is a little bit scary and could be a little bit confusing. F of x equals x squared. Well, that just means y equals x squared, which means I'm going to actually plug in y equals x squared into my Desmos in a moment. The next one, we have g of x equals f of x. Oh, this is the same f we have here. Well, what did we do before? We had this part squared. That means I need to come back and square that. So I'm going to just write down what they gave me. They gave me g of x equals f of x minus 2 plus 5. Well, I can remember f of x was squared. That means I need to square this portion. So I'm going to rewrite this as x minus 2 squared plus 5. And instead of g of x, I'm going to just make that a y. Well, the two equations I have in blue, I'm going to plug in. And what happened here is I said, you know what? They told me if I have an f, I need to square it. So I took this thing and I said, oh, I need to square it. So that's all I did. So this is our original. And then we need to see how it moved. Okay? So let's see how it moved. So I'm going to move over to Desmos and plot these 2 points. The first one, these two quadratics. So the first quadratic is y equals x squared. There it is. And then we have the next one. How did it change? We have y equals parenthesis x minus 2, and I need to square that. And then we have a plus 5 at the end. So my green is my original. Well, what happened? Did it talks about translating 2. Well, it moved 5 up, and it looks like it moved 2 over. So we moved 2 to the right and 5 over. So to the right, 2 units right. So our very first bubble is right, and then we move 5 units up. Okay? So that takes care of that, because in the x direction we moved 1, 2, and then in the y direction we moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That takes care of that problem. That's 27. 28. Which expression is equivalent to x to the negative 6 for all values of x and y where the expression is defined? First off, if I have negative exponents, I don't care where they are, they need to move. If it's negative on the top, it'll move to the bottom. If it's negative in the bottom, it moves to the top. So wherever the negative is, it needs to move. So I'm going to rewrite this by moving this down. So instead of having x to the negative 6, I'm going to move it down. Now I have, in the numerator, I only have y to the 4th. In the denominator, I move that down, so it's x to the 6th, but I already have an x cubed, and I have a y. Now that y doesn't have an exponent, but it's technically 1. Okay, here's the thing. If it shows division and a fraction line means division, that means you subtract your exponents. The largest minus the smallest. So we're going to go y to the 4th minus 1. Well, that gives me y cubed. Okay, so that takes care of the y's. The y's are now done. So if I have y cubed, that gets rid of this one, gets rid of this one, and actually we're already done. But the question is, what did we do here? Well, we took care of our y's, so I'm going to go ahead and mark or pencil mark through them saying that, hey, we took care of that. But here we're multiplying because it's this times this. When you multiply, you add exponents. So 6 plus 3. So this will be x to the 9th. And that matches up with our answer choice of A. Okay, moving on to number 29. Which system of equations is represented by the two lines? Okay, let's deal with line 1 first, and we'll come back to it. First off, they tell us their lines. So I know I can do a linear regression on this first one, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to input this table. So let's find out the first equation because we want it in, we notice it's in y equals mx plus b. So the first equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to share screen and drop in that very first table. So the very first table, to get to the table, I hit the plus button and then table and then -1 and then -12. 1 and -2, then 5 and 18. Now I'm going to hit the domino button and I get the equation y equals 5x minus 7. I'm going to write that down, and then we're going to switch back over to where we were. Y is 5x minus 7, and I'm going to stop the share. So I have y equals 5x minus 7, and it turns out A and B have that, C and D have something else. So right now I have a 50% chance of getting that correct. Okay, the next thing is I have another equation. And there's several different ways to do this. I'm not saying this is necessarily the best way to do it, but here's how I'm going to approach it. I'm going to sit there and go, well, we know it's A or B. So I'm going to plug in, it doesn't matter which number you choose. I'm going to choose number 2 because it's the middle one, but I could have chosen number 1 if I wanted to. So I could go 4 times 2, because that's my x, minus 4. Does that equal 4? 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 4 equals 4. Well, that worked. So that's a true statement. So that looks good. Well, let's try that on this one. What's 4 times 2 plus 4? 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. So that's good. So it checked out for both of them. So let's try another one. I don't know. Let's try -1. Let's try -1. So we'll try this one next. 4. All I'm doing is plugging in for the x and y. Excuse me. 4 times -1 minus 16. Does that equal 4? 4 times -1, -4 minus 16 equals -20. If I did that math right, it was it was supposed to equal, excuse me, it's supposed to equal 4, but this is -20. -20 does not equal 4, So I don't think it's A. But let's check out this one. So we're going to check out the next one. And we have 4 times -1 plus 16. Does that equal 12? Well, 4 times -1 is -4. And if you use your calculator, this gives me 12 equals 12. Guess what? B is my answer. All we do is we plug in our X and values and Y values into the equation. Alternatively, you could set this up. We could solve for Y, and that would be great. If you solve for Y, you can use Desmos. Number 30, a function is shown. What is the range of the function? First off, key word, range. If they give me the range, they're asking for the Y values. So, and range, remember, is going to be bottom, our lowest value, then Y, and then top. So let's take this function. We're going to drop it into Desmos and see what it looks like. See if we can find our bottom or our top. I see it's squared, and the fact that it's squared tells me it's going to be a parabola or a quadratic. So here we go. All right, let's clear all this mess out, and we have Y equals 2 divided by 5, parentheses, X minus 25 squared plus 13. Okay, it asks for the range, so we only care about the Y values. Well, if I sit there and scroll up, this is going to infinity. So the top is easy because it's going to infinity. So the top is infinity. I'm going to write that down on my paper. But where is the bottom? Oh, remember, we need our Y value. So we have 25 and 13, and I'm going to go ahead and draw this on my paper. And we're going to switch back to my paper. So on my paper, I have a parabola that looks like that, where that's my vertex. Well, my bottom happens to be, remember, we're looking for not the X value, we're looking for the Y value. Y value is 13. And we had a solid line. So all real numbers greater than or equal to 13. And you're like, well, that's a less than. Remember, we cross this out and then we have to flip it. Y is greater than or equal to 13. So all real numbers greater than or equal to 13. And we probably could have guessed that anyway, just because it's the only one that had a Y of 13. Number 31. Indicate whether each statement is an example of association, causation, both association and causation, or neither association nor causation. Association means there's a relationship. All right, is a relationship. Causation means that one causes the other. Not, okay, does it cause this? So here we go. As the outside temperature in Celsius increases, so as temp goes up, the number of minutes to take a bowl of ice cream decreases. Melt goes down. Well, as temperature go up, does it melt faster? And the answer, yeah, it does. So, is there a relationship? Absolutely, there's a relationship. Does temperature cause it to melt faster? It's like, yeah, temperature definitely impacts ice cream. So, the temperature causes the ice cream to melt. And we bubble our answer and we're done. Okay? So that's the first one. As the sales of winter coats increase, the outside temperature decreases. So we have coats going up and temperature going down. Well, Is there a relationship between temperature and winter coats? And the answer is yeah, there is definitely a relationship. Okay. Does does wearing a coat make the temperature go down? And it's no. Coats came first. Coats did not cause the temperature to go down. So there's only a relationship. Temperature causes coats, but the other way is not true. So this is the best answer for this one. Dance lessons are shown at two studios. The cost of dance lessons at each studio is shown. Studio Q charges a $30 registration plus a $80 per month. So I see the word per. That tells me this is a slope word. A $30 registration, that's a one-time fee. So Q equals $80 per month plus 30. That's my that one. Now I'm going to rewrite this as y equals 80x plus 30. R um, shows 105 per month. Oh, excuse me. I wrote that wrong. R is a registration fee plus 65 per month. Per is a rate word. Please remember that's a rate word. Rate words are slope words. So equals 65 per month plus 105. So I can rewrite that as y equals 65 parentheses x plus 105. After how many months will the total cost of the dance lessons be equal? So basically, they want to know where these two lines intersect. So I'm going to put these two into Desmos and see what happens. So the important thing is to be able to write the equations, which means we had to identify our rate words, and per gives me my rate word. So we're going to plug those into Desmos. So I have y equals 80x. And then the next, and get rid of that. And then I have y equals 65x plus 105. All right, we're going to zoom in a bit. And see where these two lines cross. Maybe I'll need to zoom out. Pause this for just a moment as I struggle to find my answer. Okay, so I basically played with Zoom on the played with the Zoom feature on Desmos, and I struggled. So I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to stop my share. We're going to come back, and this is what I get for not doing the problem before I got here. So I know I have y equals, so I can set these two equations equal. I can go, well, 65 or 80x plus 30 equals 65x plus 105. Now, Desmos won't like that, so I'm going to have to put 80 in plus 30 squiggle 65 in plus, that should not be a oh 05, that should be a 105. So let's plug that in, and I'm going to plug that into Desmos and see if that helps me, because when I use the graph, I really could not see the answer well enough. So if I couldn't, then it'd be difficult for you too as well. So I'm going to go back to the share and plug that in. So 80 in plus 30 squiggle 65 in plus 105. And when I do that, I get n equaling 5. So that would be the number of months. Okay. All right. So that where they cross right here, that 5, that's my answer. I thought I'd be able to do it by graphing, but in this case, I needed to do it by substitution. And all I did was take this and replace that y with it. So my answer is 5. Moving on to number 33. Which the graph of a linear function is shown on the grid. So first off, which statement is best supported by the graph? The slope of the graph is 1/2. Ah, but this, remember the angry man. This is a negative slope, so this is wrong because that's a positive. That's a positive 1/2, and that's wrong. The intercept of the graph, the x-intercept is of the graph is 6. That looks pretty good. Let's keep going. The zero of the function is 1/2. That would mean that it crosses at 1/2. That's false because 1/2 is right here and it doesn't cross there, so that's false. The y-intercept of the graph is 6. No, the y-intercept of the graph is 3. So that's false. So our best answer for 33 is B. Which expression is a factor of 16m squared minus 81? Well, this is one of those cases where I'm going to plug this in the Desmos and we're going to find where it crosses the x-axis and the parabola, because factor means it has to cross the x-axis and parabola at the same point. So let's plug this in the Desmos and see what happens. So we have 16, and we can't use the m, we have to use an x squared minus 81. And I'm going to zoom in a bit because I zoomed way out. So it looks like, wow, this is an ugly one. 16x squared minus 81. So we have a parabola. I'm going to draw it on my paper. And we need to know where it crosses the axis. So it looks like it crosses at 2.25, negative 2.25, and 0. And it also crosses at positive 2.25 and 0. And I need to know which one of those factors gives me one of those answers. So at this point, we start plugging in the factors. And we have 2m minus 9. But we can't plug in m. We have to put in an x. It's like, no, doesn't cross at the right spot. So the first one is wrong. So we know it's not A. Then we go to 16x plus 9. Crosses in between. That's not right. So B is wrong. Now we have 8x minus 9. Again, doesn't cross in the right spot. Sure hope it's D. Otherwise, I got to go back through because it means I made a mistake. Wouldn't be the first time today. So then I have 4x plus 9. And when we look, it crosses at negative 2.25. So this one, D, is my factor because it crosses at the right spot. Okay, let's drop over to my paper. So 4x plus 9 went like that and crossed at negative 2.25. It could have crossed here. It just had to cross at one of those spots. It crossed at this one, so that's my answer. Okay, so 34 is D. Moving on to 35. The equation of line K is negative x plus 17. Line N is parallel. That's interesting. The fact that it's parallel tells me it's the same slope. So, determine an equation that represents a relationship between x and y for line N. They usually want this into y equals mx plus b format. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We know the slope has to be the same. Well, what's my slope here? Oh, this is like having a negative 1. So I'm going to write down y equals mx plus b, but I know m is negative 1. So y equals negative 1x plus b. Well, they gave me an x and a y, so I can plug in. So y is 7 and x is negative 5. So negative 1 and negative 5 plus b. So 7 equals negative times a negative is a positive, and you can do that on a calculator. I solve for b by subtracting 5 from both sides, and I end up getting 2 equals b. So at this point, I can go y equals negative 1x plus 2. Or you could put y equals negative x plus 2. And this would be the better answer. So here's what I want to do. I want to plug in both of these equations and see what happens. See what happens when I go to Desmos because I kind of want to check my work. So the first equation, this is what they gave me. Y equals negative x plus 17. Then I said, we tried that and we came up with y equals negative x plus 2. Okay, so I definitely have a parallel line, so that's good. I'm also going to ask for a table on this one. Well, I want to see that graph. And I need to know, does it pass through negative 5, 7? So I'm going to go to negative 5. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And negative 5 is right here. And sure enough, it crosses at negative 5, 7. Therefore, we have our right answer. Okay? Alternatively, you could actually, I think, actually plot the point. No, won't let you do that. Okay. All right. Anyway, we know that it crosses at negative 5, 7. Therefore, can't get it to do it now. but that's because it crosses the -5, 7, we have the right line. Okay, moving on to the last problem, problem 36. A bicycle rental company charges a fixed rental fee for the first 30 minutes and a cost per minute. Per tells me this is a rate word for each additional minute. The table shows a linear relationship. Okay, that means we're dealing with a straight line between the total cost of dollars. What is the rate of change? So they're asking for the slope. Well, they gave me a table, so what I'm going to do, since they gave me a table, is I'm going to put this in the Desmos, and they're going to give me an equation that looks like y equals mx plus b. And m is my slope, which is also my rate. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, is whatever that is. So let's move back over to Desmos. Get the table, and 15, enter. 20, enter. 35, enter. 55. The next one, 3.05, 3.4, 4.45, and 5.85. Once we have that, we're going to hit the domino button, and we get an equation. All right, I'm going to write that equation down. On my paper, my equation is y equals 0.07x plus 2. All right, so looking back, I wrote it down, 0.07x plus 2. We know m is our slope. So our answer is letter C, because the 0.07 lines up with the m, and m is our slope, and they asked for the rate of change. All right, I appreciate you watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.